When I visited Longson Island, I was amazed at how many stories and how many fascinating activities are going on in an area that most people just pass over when they're headed to Vũng Tàu for a trip to the beach.
Ôi giời, cảm ơn, cảm ơn.
So, it looks easy, but they're quite heavy when they get in. But they don't really have anywhere to go.
Nhiều,
Nhiều.
nhiều lên.
Nhiều lên.
Nữa.
Being invited to people's fields, being invited into people's homes, and getting a sense for how they live is really why I travel. That's what's thrilling to me. I think Longson is a perfect example of the type of stories and experiences that are waiting for us just around the corner if you go about it with curiosity and with interest and a desire to get to know people. You're gonna have a fantastic time there.
Longson Commune is 12 kilometers southwest of Vũng Tàu City by road and has a total area of 92 square kilometers, of which 54 is land that contains a high content of saline. Longson Commune is made up of two islands, Gorang Island and Longson Island, the larger of the two. If you can wake up early, the salt fields of Longson will surely be a fascinating sunrise viewpoint and a good place to find out how local people make salt.
Not even 6 o'clock yet this morning. We got up to watch these men hard at work packaging the salt that they've spent the last few days drying and preparing to sell to use for nước and other sauces. And they're here early so to avoid the hot sun, which is going to make the work all the more difficult. So they work when it's so cool out in this surroundings that if you look around, it seems like we're in the middle of the countryside. But we're only a few kilometers from downtown Vũng Tàu, where this still rural traditional activity is taking place every day. Can I try? Okay.
Chưa đủ đâu, chưa đủ. Rồi.
50 kg.
50. Quần đẹp quá ha.
Cảm ơn. Cảm ơn.
Chứ không đẹp, bự vậy đi hồi dướng.
As you can see, though they have to work very hard to make pots of salt, the people of Longson appear to lead a happy life.
It's easy to take salt for granted. It's in all of our homes, in the kitchen, and on every dinner table. But coming here to Longson really puts in perspective the complicated process that involves so many different people, beyond just the tricks and secrets about how to make it. I'm standing in the middle of one of Longson's salt fields. On the left, the water is undergoing the process of crystallization. And after 10 or 12 days, enough water will have evaporated that the salt can be collected, like it's being done on my right. Some salt farmer, to speed up the salination, will add already developed salt to the water to coax the salt crystals to form, kind of like when you add bacteria to make yogurt. có thể thử. Cảm ơn. Cảm ơn anh. Oh.
Cứng quá không? Cứng quá mình phải bề thép này nè. Cứng quá mình phải bề thép lại. Cứng quá bề thép. Đó. Rồi vô đây đẩy lại này. Là nó không có ăn xuống sình. Thấy không?
Watching some of the workers here and talking to them as they're very friendly to explain what they do and why really makes it clear that it takes a lot of work and a lot of really hardworking people to bring salt to everybody's table throughout the country.
Chưa quen.
So it requires a great mixture of both strength and finesse, and they make it look incredibly easy. I think I'll leave this to you. Cảm ơn anh.
According to experienced local salt makers, salt production has played an important role in the development of Long Son Island. Salt production was one of the few livelihoods people from the Mekong Delta had knowledge and expertise they could utilize when they first arrived here. Today, although making salt is not the only way to make a living, people still choose to remain working the land for salt.
Chú làm mùi vào
Lâu
trước.
rồi, lâu rồi.
Bao nhiêu năm?
Hồi trước thì người ta làm, sau này mình làm á. Làm nay mười mấy năm rồi.
Vì sao chú thích làm mùi?
Nghề truyền thống là xưa giờ làm đây phải đeo nó chứ bỏ không được. Nó cực có mấy tháng à. Mình có khi muối có giá thì có tiền còn. Vì cái mình không có tốn cái công ha. Làm ngon lắm mà muối giá làm nên trúng cái làm cũng ngon. Sống được. Bởi vì tao mới mê tao làm đi.
I most enjoy when I travel, whether it's a big city or a rural area, is to just kind of see what people that live there are doing. What is their normal routine? What is their daily job? Or how are they spending their time relaxing? And trying to get a sense of why that is, because more often than not, they're doing something that I'm not familiar with or I've never thought to do or thought to ask about. And I think that's why we travel, is to get a sense for other worlds or other norms outside of our own. A really interesting part of Vietnamese tradition is worshiping the founder or the first person in an area. That's part of the reason that I'm standing here in front of the big house complex in Long Son.
The Big House is the name of the temple complex of Ong Chan faith on Long Son Island. Long Son Big House was built by Mr. Lê Van Mu, often called Ong Chan by Long Son Islanders. After Ong Chan passed away, his followers have kept worshiping him and other gods every day.
Xin chào bác.
Dạ, mời.
Cảm ơn.
Paul was received by Miss Lê T. Kian, Ong Chan's fourth generation descendant.
Ngôi nhà này diện tích 7.835 mét vuông. 1910 là bắt đầu ông xây dựng cái nhà lớn này, từ Hà Tiên về. Đi trên chiếc thuyền đó là khoảng 20 mấy người. Ông nhà lớn là người đầu tiên về đây khai quang lập ấp, có làm nghề muối, làm ruộng lúa, rồi trồng củi nữa.
Thế là cái gì?
Đây là bánh lái ghe của ông ngày xưa. Nhờ có ghe này đi đóng đáy biển mà ông mới làm nên sự nghiệp.
Just by walking the length of this boat's steering wheel, it's easy to imagine how large the entire ship was that brought Ong Chan here and really started this fantastic over 100 years tradition in this building of architecture and worship and programs to help the community, help the poor, welcome people. And that great tradition really all started in part because of the thanks of this massive boat over a century ago that they've kept here to remember where they came from.
Architecturally, Long Son Big House comprises of many smaller buildings that were built in the style of Vietnamese communal temples with bricks, tiles, and wood. All buildings have bright colors, with walls in white and windows, shades, and wooden parts painted blue, making people feel optimistic and peaceful.
In addition to the more obvious value of this place, such as the unique architecture and the traditional architecture techniques that are still being passed down, one of the most incredible parts is 94 Nome script panels that are currently being translated by historians so they can be shared and the knowledge passed along.
Inside the big house, there are many small worshiping chambers placed high and separated. They're used for worshiping different saints and gods of religions such as Confucianism and Buddhism. This mixture results from the fact that Ong Shan faith followers appreciate the true, the good, the beautiful. These followers are still preserving traditions typical of southern Vietnam, such as wearing ao ba ba, the loose blouse, walking barefoot, wearing hair in a bun.
Đang đơm cơm nè. Đây là quý vị đơm cơm thố để Tỉnh ở trên bàn thờ đó. Mỗi ngày sáng chiều, 7 giờ rưỡi sáng và 2 giờ rưỡi chiều. Quy định mỗi bàn thờ bao nhiêu thố. Rồi quý anh để sẵn trong mâm vậy nè. Anh nào có trách nhiệm ở bàn nào thì đơm mâm đó. Dạ, đi lên đây nè. Rồi đi. Đi đó. Đi. Rồi đi lên nha.
At first, the big house, I mean, the structure is very large and imposing. And anytime it's something religious or traditional and you have honorings and gods, it feels very serious and you want to be very careful to be matching in how somber you are. But very quickly, after just a few minutes talking or just being greeted by people, you realize how warm it was and how friendly everyone was, interest in showing you around. It was a nice surprise.
Cơm này mình chỉnh xong cái mình hội xuống, rồi anh em ở trong phiên dùng. Phiên trong ngày đó là 5 anh em. Một người phiên hầu, một người hương chức là 7. Nhưng là hương chức á, trực trong một ngày thì ngủ phải ở 3 ngày. Rồi 3 ngày sau cái mình đổi 5 anh em khác vô. Đây là ông phiên hầu, ông Tỉnh, ông Trển.
Xin chào.
Rồi xong rồi ông mới bưng xuống đây chúc mâm trên ông phải 9 món, hào, xào, tôm nấu canh, tôm kho, đậu xanh, chuối, dưa hấu.
Tại sao có chín?
Ở đây là làm bất cứ cái gì vậy cũng là mình lấy số trực.
It's incredible to see how carefully selected and prepared and how closely they follow these traditions that they've developed, maybe without even remembering why they developed it, but they follow them so skillfully and diligently and with such efficiency to get it out. It's a beautiful, beautiful scene to see happen every single day.
Architectural and customary values preserved inside Long Son Big House are precious assets that tell people about the history of the community in Long Son and the lifestyle of this land from the past. Since the bridges connecting Long Son commune with local thoroughfares were built, ease of transport has allowed more people to settle here and perform new jobs. This infrastructure partly led to the formation of Long Son Floating Village.
Kéo bước xuống cái rêu ở dưới là ướt là trơn lắm.
So right now, we're buying fish to feed the fish that he keeps back there. He said that every day he comes here to the dock to get the fish to feed his fish, and then we'll go back now. Yeah, okay.
Bui Buk To's family came from central Vietnam. They have lived on seafood farming in Long Son for 9 years. Every day, he and his wife buy many kinds of small fish and cut them into pieces to feed groupers, pomfrets, or lobsters raised in floating farms.
Mình làm thế này là bởi vì tôm nhà mình là nó háu ăn. Khi mình vãi miếng mồi xuống, nếu mà để cả miếng to thì một con là bộc phát là hết luôn, con khác nhịn. Nên mình cắt ra mục đích là để chia đều cho nhiều con ăn một lúc.
These are some of the many varieties of small fish that are used to feed lobster. To spares certain ones to make his family's favorite dish.
Mấy con này mà bà xã mình mà cứ cắt thế này xong rồi đánh bẫy, kho chắc ngon lắm, kho tương.
To says this area is favorable for farming oysters. An oyster is a mollusk that can live in both saltwater and brackish water. They easily adapt to different climates and have few diseases. Most importantly, oyster farmers do not have to buy or breed young oysters. They only need to prepare floating farms and objects for oysters to cling to. Oysters mostly feed on organic matter suspended in the water. Therefore, there is no cost for oyster farmers to feed them.
So I was hoping to be able to come help him to do some of the feeding of the fish. But as you might be able to tell, I'm not very swift at this compared to him. He's just running around doing everything far quicker than I can even get there in time, because he's certainly mastered this with practice.
Đây là con hào sữa mình đang nuôi đây. Mới bắt đầu nuôi đây. Đây nó đang bé này. Đó, đây là rất nhiều con đang bám. Này mai mốt nó lớn là thành một búi to.
To just harvested all his oysters, so he invited Paul to walk around the floating village to buy some oysters from locals.
So we're just stopping to pick up some oysters from one of the other houses here. And it's really been incredible to pass by and visit some of these houses and see how people are living and see how everybody's doing something and doing a lot of different things to make a living, but also being so inviting and such a strong sense of community here where everybody is seemingly living peaceful, relaxed, happy lives while still working incredibly hard to make a living. And we've just stopped here. We're gonna pick up some oysters to have for dinner tonight. So we're gonna watch him get some from his friend's oyster farming harvest area.
Cái này mình nuôi đây là hàu sữa, hàu đại dương. Là người ta nhân giống, người ta bán, nó bám vào cái miếng. Đây một miếng vỏ của con hàu đá này. Xong các con hàu con nó bám vào và nó lớn, phát triển lên thế này. Nó lọc nước để lớn. Mình nuôi hàu này là nó vừa có thu nhập mà nó lại vừa có lợi cho những người chăn nuôi tôm. Nó lọc sạch nguồn nước của mình. Gian cảnh quan nó đẹp, đặc biệt là lâu lâu là có các du khách ở trong nước rồi như bạn ở quốc tế, bạn đến bạn chơi tham quan nữa, mình cũng học hỏi được thêm rất nhiều điều nên mình rất thích sống ở Vũng Tàu này.
If any visitor is interested in trying to harvest seafood in these floating farms, locals are always willing to help by experiencing it for themselves. Visitors will understand the busy life locals lead and how hard they have to work.
Bao nhiêu kilo?
44 kg.
Wow. So it looks easy, but they're quite heavy when they get in. But they don't really have anywhere to go.
Visiting a family living in the floating village under Cha Va Bridge is a must for anyone interested in finding out more about the changes and development of this island's economic life. This is also a perfect place to finish a visit to Long Son Island. You'll have time to enjoy a peaceful afternoon here and join locals with everything you harvested yourself to prepare a fresh and delicious dinner.
Ở này để tí nữa mình ăn mấy cá cho nó đỡ bị tanh.
This is incredible. So we're gonna eat dinner pretty soon.
Cái ớt xanh này.
And we're still picking the chilies and the spices for dinner, or in these surroundings, a more peaceful backdrop or warm, welcoming people to enjoy it with. It's really a special treat to be here. I think Long Son is a perfect example of the type of stories and experiences that are waiting for us just around the corner that we never really give enough time or attention to thinking about. I mean, this is not very far from Saigon. You can come here a short weekend. And yet, like we did, you could spend 2 full days here and just be met with some of the most generous people that have amazing stories that I'll remember forever, and I'm sure I'll share and bring back to wherever next I'm headed. And it's a good reminder that I think wherever you go, if you go about it with curiosity and with interest and a desire to get to know people, You're gonna have a fantastic time there.